The first thing Elias Rowan noticed about the station was the cold. Not the ordinary, humming chill of life support struggling to keep vacuum at bay, but a deeper cold, one that felt intentional. As if the station itself had been designed to remind every living thing inside it that warmth was a privilege, not a right. The air brushed against his skin like thin ice, and he pulled his worn jacket tighter around his shoulders as the docking clamps locked with a hollow thud. Station K, 317 hung at the edge of the Helier Expanse, a trading hub built by the Coalition of Species. It was famous for two things: neutrality and cruelty. Neutrality in politics, cruelty in environment. The architects, mostly avian and silicon-based species, found low temperatures efficient. Mammals were expected to adapt or leave. Elias had not left. Humans rarely came this far out. Earth was a rumor here, a minor footnote in coalition databases. Humans were considered fragile, inefficient, and emotionally unpredictable. Elias fit the stereotype in some ways. He was thin, dark-haired, and carried the permanent look of someone who had learned to survive by observing rather than dominating. He stepped off the transport and scanned the arrival concourse. Multicolored forms moved through the space, tall insectoid traders with crystalline wings folded tight, squat reptilians wrapped in thermal cloaks, beings of light contained in hovering frames. No one paid him much attention. That was normal. Humans were easy to ignore. Except her. She sat near the far wall, partially shielded by a row of cargo crates, her body curled inward as if trying to disappear into herself. Her skin was a pale shade of blue-gray, patterned with faint silver lines that pulsed weakly. She had 4 arms, 2 wrapped tightly around her torso, the other 2 resting limply against the floor. Thin vapor escaped her lips with each shallow breath. She was freezing. Elias felt it before he fully understood it. The way her movements were slowed, the tremor running through her frame, the dullness in her eyes. He had seen hypothermia before, on a mining outpost where heaters failed during a solar storm. Different species, same suffering. He hesitated. Intervening on coalition stations was complicated. Helping another species without authorization could be interpreted as interference, debt creation, or even an insult. Most beings here believed that suffering was either deserved or regulated by protocol. Elias had learned long ago that protocol did not keep people alive. He walked toward her. A passing Virex merchant clicked its mandibles in warning. "Human," it said through a translator band. "That one is Thaurin. Their kind requires regulated heat zones. This sector is not designated." "She's dying," Elias replied. The Virex shrugged, a ripple through its segmented body. Then she miscalculated. Elias knelt beside her. Up close, he could see frost forming along the edges of her silver markings, the bioluminescence dimming to almost nothing. Her eyes flickered toward him unfocused. "Hey," he said softly, knowing she might not understand the words, but hoping the tone carried meaning. "Can you hear me?" One of her lower arms twitched. Her translator implant crackled weakly. Heat lost came the faint output. Mobility failing. Elias did not think about laws. He did not think about reputation. He shrugged out of his jacket. It was not a special jacket. It was old, patched, and smelled faintly of machine oil and recycled air. It had been with him through asteroid storms and long nights alone in cargo holds. It was, however, warm. He draped it over her shoulders and upper body, wrapping it around her as carefully as he could. The fabric looked absurd against her alien physiology, sleeves dangling uselessly, but it covered her core. Her reaction was immediate. The silver lines along her skin brightened, pulsing stronger. Her breathing deepened, the shivers easing just slightly. Her eyes focused, now sharp enough to truly see him. "You," Her translator said, stronger now. You are a losing heat. Elias smiled, teeth chattering. I'll manage. A low murmur rippled through the concourse. Several beings stopped to watch. Acts of unreciprocated aid were rare. Acts involving personal sacrifice were almost unheard of. A security drone hovered closer, optics whirring. Human, it intoned. Explain your actions. She was freezing, Elias said simply. I had something warm. I gave it to her. The drone paused, processing. No exchange has been registered. I'm not selling it. Then you are violating standard interaction models. Elias looked up at the drone, breath fogging the air. Then update your model. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the drone drifted back, uncertain. The Thauran woman sat up slowly, her movements still stiff, but controlled. She studied the jacket, then Elias, her head tilting in a gesture that conveyed curiosity. You are human, she said. Yeah. My species records humans as self-preserving to the point of emotional volatility. He laughed softly. We're complicated. She extended one upper arm, touching the fabric, then his wrist. Her skin was warmer now. This was not required. Neither is dying, he replied. Her eyes narrowed, not in anger, but in something like confusion. There is no gain for you. Elias shrugged. Guess I'm bad at math. Hours later, he sat in a thermal alcove, wrapped in an emergency blanket provided by a bemused station medic. The Thauran woman stood across from him, fully recovered, her bioluminescence bright and steady. My name is Serial, she said, of the Northern Thauran Clades. Elias Rowan, of Earth. She inclined her head. Your garment. I will return it. Keep it, he said. Looks better on you anyway. She hesitated. Among my people, life debt is sacred. You intervened without claim. This creates imbalance. I didn't do it for a debt. That is what makes it significant. Word spread faster than Elias expected. By the next cycle, the story of the human who gave his own warmth to a freezing Thauran had traveled through the station. Reactions were mixed. Some species dismissed it as reckless sentimentality. Others were unsettled. A few were quietly fascinated. Serial found him again in the lower market ring, where he was negotiating for spare parts. You will leave the station soon, she said. Yeah. Freight run. Back to the outer lanes. She studied him. If you remain, there will be consequences. The coalition does not understand actions without transaction. And if I go, they will still not understand, she said. But they will talk. Elias sighed. Story of my life. She reached into a small satchel and withdrew a compact device, crystalline and faintly glowing. This is a Thauran thermal core. Portable. Efficient. It will keep you warm in environments like this. I can't take that. You can, she said firmly. This is not payment. It is acknowledgement. He accepted it slowly, fingers brushing the smooth surface. Warmth radiated instantly, seeping into his palm. Thank you, he said. No, she replied. Thank you for reminding me that survival is not the same as living. When Elias boarded his ship, he thought that would be the end of it. A strange encounter. A good deed. Something to remember on lonely nights. He was wrong. Over the following months, his name began appearing in places it never had before. Invitations to neutral summits. Requests for mediation. Messages from species who had heard the story and wanted to understand why a human would give without demand. The coalition struggled with the concept. Entire economic models were built on exchange, balance, and enforced reciprocity. Elias represented an anomaly. So did Serial. She left her clade and joined him on his travels, officially as a cultural observer. Unofficially, as someone searching for answers her own society had never encouraged her to ask. They traveled together through cold stations and warm worlds, through misunderstandings and moments of quiet laughter. Wherever they went, the story followed. She was freezing. The human did something no alien expected. And slowly, impossibly, the galaxy began to change. Not because of treaties or wars or technology, but because one human had chosen, in a moment of cold indifference, to be warm instead. And others began to wonder what might happen if they did the same. The change did not happen all at once. At first, it was subtle. A minor amendment added to coalition conduct archives. Voluntary aid, non-transactional. Most species ignored it. Some mocked it. A few quietly studied it. Elias watched from the margins as the galaxy tried to name what it had witnessed. Serial, however, understood before the rest. "Your people have a dangerous idea," she said once, as they stood near the viewport of Elias's ship, watching a red star bleed light into the void. "That kindness does not need justification." Elias smiled faintly. "We're still arguing about it ourselves." The real test came a year later. A thermal collapse struck the Kalvar Ring, a massive habitat where thousands of cold-adapted species lived alongside those who were not. The systems failed unevenly. Entire sectors plunged into lethal temperatures. Coalition response teams hesitated, calculating losses, prioritizing efficiency. Elias did not wait. He rerouted his ship, broadcasting an open message. "Any vessel capable of carrying heat units or shelter modules, follow me. No contracts. No reimbursement guarantees." To everyone's surprise, ships answered. Not many at first. A Thalrin cruiser. A pair of merchant haulers. Then more. Species who remembered the story. Who remembered the human who had given away his own warmth. Serial coordinated relief, her calm voice cutting through panic. She moved through freezing corridors, wrapped once again in Elias's old jacket, now reinforced and patched a dozen times. Wherever she went, others followed. Lives were saved. Not all, but enough. When the coalition convened afterward, their conclusion was unprecedented. They did not punish Elias. They did not sanction the volunteers. Instead, they rewrote doctrine. Aid, without exchange, was no longer considered an anomaly. It was recognized as a stabilizing force. Elias never sought recognition. He returned to freight runs, quieter routes, smaller stations. But people knew him now, not as a hero, as a reminder. Years later, on a small world with a mild sun and open skies, Elias and Serial stood side by side as children of half a dozen species played together, laughing in the warmth. "Do you regret it?" Serial asked softly. That first moment, giving away your jacket. Elias thought of the cold, the station, the way her light had nearly gone out. "No," he said. "I think that moment gave me everything." She took his hand, her skin warm, steady, alive. "Then the galaxy owes you more than it can ever repay." He shook his head. "No debts," he said with a grin. "Just pass it on." And somewhere far away, on another cold station, someone did something unexpected. And the warmth spread again.